Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here on Wave Now. I'm Myra Ansari. So you may remember in 2021, we were dealing with a bit of an issue. If you remember, cicadas, they were everywhere. And for a lot of folks, this was a new experience. Those big, nasty, loud bugs, they were everywhere. I remember going to the park and it was like you couldn't walk without crunching on them. They were just so nasty, for lack of better words. So we are going to be experiencing another round of cicadas. So it is going to be quite interesting because there are two broods that are going to be emerging here shortly in Kentucky and Indiana. So joining me now is David Price, the Associate Certified Entomologist with Mosquito Joe. So David, thank you so much for being here with us today. Tell me about what folks in Indiana and Kentucky can expect with cicadas. When can we start to see them emerge again, and this brood that's coming up?
Yeah, so this will be the 13-year brood. There's about 4 species that exist within this brood. And they should emerge probably about mid-May through about mid-June. And yeah, it'll be some pressure.
So tell me about cicadas. The way they come about is pretty interesting. They kind of use our trees to make their homes, right? Walk me through what makes this insect different from everything else.
Yeah, sure. So I guess kind of how the life cycle starts is they'll mate, and then the male actually passes away. The female then hangs out for a couple of days. And what the female is doing is she is making a groove in the branch of a tree or a bush. And then she's going to lay about 20 or 30 eggs into that groove. And she's going to continue this for a couple of days and lay a total of anywhere from 200 to 500 eggs. So she's quite busy. Those eggs will take about 6 to 8 weeks to develop, and then they will be a nymph and they'll fall down, and then they will dig down into the ground about 8 feet, in which they will feed on the sap of the roots of these trees and bushes where they were born. And so then they'll be down in that ground for 13 years.
Wow.
And then it's incredible.
Wow.
And so then what they're going to do, and this is what's currently occurring right now, is they're kind of moving up into the soil, and they'll be about 8 inches below the surface. And so then they're going to hang out until that soil gets about 64 degrees. And then that's an indicator. And another indicator that typically happens is a nice warm rain. Kind of softens that soil up, and then they'll emerge and they'll go right back up the tree and start their life cycle all over again.
All right, I want to show folks some video of the cicadas that we saw in 2021. David, just looking at them, they seem kind of creepy and gross, but they're quite large, right? You see them coming at you. They kind of interfere with just life, right?
Yeah, they're about 1 to 2 inches. They've got kind of those bulgy red, little scary kind of looking eyes, right? And that's really to try to fend off some of the predators. And their predators are birds and all kinds of animals. They're a great food source. They have a lot of protein. In other countries, they really look forward to this because it's an excellent food source. And they're pretty hardy, so they make a good meal.
Yeah, we just had a viewer who's watching us right now. Thomas said, you can make food out of them. So I've heard a lot of people do that. So they're quite popular.
Yes. Dip them in chocolate. They also make great fish bait, by the way. You can catch a lot of bass with them.
Interesting. All right. So David, is there any danger with cicadas? Is there a threat? Are they dangerous? Can they hurt you? Can they hurt your property?
As far as danger to us, none. Again, excellent food source. However, when they're making that groove in the branches, they could hurt the tree, and oftentimes the leaves will brown out. The younger trees that are like less than 4 years old, and bushes as well, they may struggle to kind of come back. The older trees, they will be able to survive this, and rebound quite easily.
So now I'm assuming then, David, is not a good time to plant a tree. Is that correct?
Correct. I would wait till July or thereafter. And then a couple of things that you could do for your existing trees and bushes that are less than 4 years old is just simply putting some netting over top of them. Try to make that mesh 1 centimeter or less. So you want a kind of nice tight mesh, and that will help in protecting those young trees. And if you happen to miss on that, simply just do some additional watering, and you want that to be about 1 inch per week. And you might want to put some mulch around the bottom of the trees or bushes, really to kind of help keep that moisture in and allow those trees and bushes to repair.
I want to talk again, David, about these 2 broods that are coming. What makes them so unique, so different, that they're emerging at the same time?
Yeah, it's again, it's all timing, right? The environmental conditions allow for that. And so really kind of the 17-year brood that's in Illinois is going to emerge, and that'll touch on parts of Indiana and as well parts of Michigan. So in order to see both broods emerge at the same time, you would have to go a little bit further north from where you're at currently.
So is there a threat to our homes with these cicadas that are coming?
Oh, no, there isn't.
Okay.
They're just, they're a nuisance.
Just annoying. There's anything that
Yeah.
else that you mentioned, the netting that we can put on the trees. What else can we do, I guess, is there anything we can do to protect our homes, our trees, our landscaping, that sort of thing?
Yeah, unfortunately, they are such a hardy insect. Really, any kind of over-the-counter or even professionals spray applications, they do not work against these guys. So we just kind of have to live through it a little bit.
And when can we expect them to start to emerge in our area in Kentucky and Indiana, David?
Yeah, it should be about mid-May.
Mid-May. Okay. All right. Because Derby season is quite busy in an outdoors event. We would not want
Yeah.
cicadas flying everywhere around us. All right. So just, we kind of had to deal with this in 2021. We remember how annoying they were. It was just kind of alarming to see these massive looking bugs coming at us all in our yards. They're everywhere. As David mentioned, not a huge threat to you. Don't worry. They can't sting you, right? They can't hurt you.
Correct.
So just kind of protect your trees is the best thing that you can do. And then we'll experience this all over again, David, when? In the next 13 to 17 years, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So you'll get a 17-year brood that will appear first because you had that in 2021. And then a few years after that, you'll experience this all over again.
As an entomologist, I'm sure you look into this sort of thing all the time, but what fascinates you about cicadas?
Yeah, just I guess the mating call that they go through. They just have such an interesting life cycle. They go straight to a nymph, and there is not a larval stage. So there's not this grub stage. I've talked to some folks and they were like, "Oh, I was digging up in my yard, and this was an interesting story that she was digging in her yard and she saw the oddest thing. So she was digging about 6 inches in the soil there. And then the next thing she knows, the very next day, there was an emergence that happened. And her husband said, "Oh, you caused the cicadas to emerge." So she went on for years until she talked to me, and I told her about the life cycle, and that there is no grub; it's a nymph. So that's why you saw such an odd-looking insect in the soil. So it's very fascinating.
If you don't mind, I don't know if you can answer this, but we do have a question from a viewer. Thomas wants to know, will they also bring more bees to the area, and do they feed on boxwoods? Is that something you can answer?
They don't feed on boxwoods. They would be laying eggs into the branches.
Okay.
And as far as stinging insects, yes, this is what does happen. So there is a wasp that is called a cicada killer, and it actually burrows into the ground. And what it does is it hunts for cicadas. It's not interested in us.
Huh.
It's a solitary wasp, but it does hunt the cicadas, drags that down into the hole, and is food, for their young. So I would suspect, or actually I know, that the population does increase. So later in the summer, there'll be more, and then the following year, there'll be even more cicada killers out there.
Interesting.
And so they can become numerous on your property, and we can do something about that. We do have eco-friendly products that we can apply to reduce that pressure.
Okay. And the boxwood question came from Vicky. Thank you so much for asking that. And David, how long is our cicada season, for lack of a better way of asking you?
Yeah. So that emergence does typically occur over a 30-day period. And then it's amazing, right? There'll be a lot of loud noise, particularly at dusk. And then that will wean off probably towards the end of June.
Okay. And this is the brood 13 and 19. Do I have that right?
Yeah. So what you're going to experience is brood 19.
19. Okay.
Right. Which is a 13-year brood.
Okay. And then the 17-year brood, what was that one?
That was brood 13.
Was that brood 13? Okay. All right. Okay. So just be prepared. They're not going to hurt you. They're just really annoying. David, what am I not asking you that you think folks need to know about the cicadas that are about to kind of crawl out of the ground and make their emergence?
Yeah. Just don't be afraid of them. Yeah, they're not going to hurt anything. They're not going to hurt anybody. Again, they're actually very beneficial for our ecosystem in terms of providing health for our bird population, as well as other animals out in the woods.
All right, perfect. David, thank you so much for talking with us today and sharing your knowledge with us about cicadas. I appreciate your time today. I'm Myra Ansari with David Price, and I hope you have a great day.
You do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.